Welcome back, and I just wanted to make a brief overview video today of some of the moment lenses I've been collecting over the last few years and show you how they work with the iPhone 12 Pro Max. Now, I'll show you a few example photos and videos that I've taken, and I'll talk about some of the pros and cons of each lens and let you know which ones that I think are worth getting hold of. I don't have every moment lens, so I can't show you them all, so this video is mainly going to focus on their wide, macro and anamorphic lenses. But I do also have one of their old discontinued 60mm telephoto lenses, so I'll briefly show you that too for anyone that has one lying around. And I will also leave some timestamps below the like button in the description, so if you want to jump around you can do that too. Now, you might be wondering, why even use lenses with a phone that already has 3 cameras on the back? Well, not all cameras are made equal. On the 12 Pro Max, the wide camera has a much larger 1.6 aperture and sensor compared to the other 2 cameras. So theoretically, mounting say a wide lens over the wide camera should mean much better low light performance than the native ultra-wide camera on its own. You can also mount lenses to your phone that offer you new ways to shoot, so you can get macro lenses and anamorphic lenses if you want a more sort of cinematic look. And just quickly to talk about mounting, you're going to need a moment case which has 2 bayonet mounts for the lenses over the wide and telephoto cameras. There's no mount over the ultra wide as that camera is just too wide to really be effective with any lenses. I've already made a first impressions video on this MagSafe version of the case if you'd like to check that out. Or alternatively, Moment also makes a removable lens mount which you can use if they don't make a case for your particular phone, or if you want to go crazy and use it to mount lenses to your iPad, for example. The mount slides on and you can adjust the positioning to line it up with the cameras, even the front selfie camera if you really wanted to. It is padded too to avoid scratching anything, and there's a screw on the other side to clamp it into place. But this will obstruct your phone screen slightly, so I find that a case is the best option. So now that's out of the way, let's get to the lenses. First up, this is Moment's wide lens. It comes with a lens cap just like all their lenses, and it's very sturdy and well built, being made from metal and glass just like the rest of their lens lineup. And this lens has an equivalent focal length of 18mm. You can see how this lens is wider than the wide camera, but it's not quite as wide as the ultra wide. It looks a bit softer too, but that's because the iPhone does a lot of sharpening on the ultra wide camera. Here I've tried to match the sharpening, so I have had to over sharpen the Moment lens quite a bit, but I actually think that it ends up looking better than the ultra wide camera here. The tree bark and the fence panels are a lot clearer and less muddy, and that's the advantage of using a wide lens over the iPhone's wide camera and its better sensor. I used to use this lens all the time with my last phone, the iPhone X, which only had a wide and telephoto camera. But now I find myself mostly using the native ultra-wide camera on the 12 as it's just more convenient. However, this wide lens does have a big advantage over the ultra-wide camera. As it's mounted over a camera that has a 1.6 aperture, it's going to get much better light performance in low light than the 2.4 aperture of the ultra-wide camera. Using locked manual camera settings, you can really see the difference in low light performance. So this lens isn't totally redundant, although the native ultra-wide camera offers a wider view and is more convenient to use being built in. The Moment wide will mean that you can get better low light performance. Next up is Moment's macro lens. Now, I really like this lens, it's really fun to use, and it offers something totally new to the iPhone. There are some phones now that do offer native macro cameras, but it's not something that's appeared on an iPhone yet, so a lens like this can really offer you something new and unique. This is a 10x macro, which means you get a 10x magnification. I find that it's really great for nature photography and really getting up close to your subject. It does have a very shallow depth of field, so you are definitely going to need a steady hand or a tripod, but just look at the detail in some of these shots. It's honestly kind of amazing. Like, you would not be able to get pictures like these without using a macro lens. And it can also be mounted to the telephoto camera, so this gives you an even more impressive and closer view of your subject. You can really get some incredible, like, wallpaper worthy shots with this lens. It is also very much usable for video too if you want to use it for that. You can really get a bit experimental with this lens and try and find new angles and new ways to shoot. But the depth of field is very shallow and fixed, so that will be a bit of a limitation. It also comes with a diffuser hood to help diffuse the light over your subject, and it's the perfect size to let you know the exact distance that you need to be away from your subject to be in focus. But a bit of a problem I've had with the Max is when using it on the wide camera, you can see just in the corners the edges of the diffuser hood. And this wasn't a problem using it before on my iPhone X, so I think that this is because the 12 Pro Max has a slightly wider main camera now versus the 10. This isn't a problem though when mounting on the tele camera, and the hood is of course entirely optional. This does also show you the slightly further reach of the Max with its 2.5x tele versus the 2x on the 10. So overall, a really solid lens to use with the 12 Pro Max. You can get some really impressive photos and videos that just wouldn't be possible with the native cameras alone. Next up is the Anamorphic. Now, this might look a bit unusual at first with its rather boxy shape, and that's because traditional lenses will use spherical or aspherical glass to direct light onto the camera sensor, whereas anamorphic lenses use cylindrical lens elements to squeeze a wider image onto the camera sensor. This is a 1.33x anamorphic lens, which refers to the amount of horizontal squeezing that the lens will produce. So straight out of the camera, footage taken using this lens will look a bit weird as it's squashed, but once de-squeezed, it turns 16:9 video into 2.40:1 video, which is also known as CinemaScope. Moment's Pro Camera app can do this in camera, so you can get a live preview of what your shooting will look like de-squeezed, and you can also have this automatically applied to your video files as they're saved to the camera roll. There are also other third-party camera apps that can do this, like VideoMic Pro, or alternatively you can de-squeeze the footage yourself in post. Naturally, this aspect ratio adds those very cinematic black bars to the top and bottom of the frame, whilst also providing a wider image in the frame itself. You do also get some distortion to straight lines in the image too, which, to be honest, I kind of quite like. It sort of gives it a Wes Anderson feel and just makes it even more cinematic. And then on top of that, you also get some pretty sweet lens flares too. So the blue coating on this anamorphic lens gives you blue flares, which is very sci-fi. And Moment also has a gold flare anamorphic lens too. I've not had a chance to get one yet, but it's exactly the same as this one, but it gives you more sort of neutral tone gold flares if you don't want to go full J.J. Abrams. Although traditionally anamorphic lenses are used more for video, there's nothing stopping you from using this for photography too, so you can definitely use this to get some cinematic style shots and stills, so kind of looks like you've got some still frames from a movie. It's really cool. As with the macro lens, this lens offers you something unique that you can't do natively using the standard iPhone cameras, so it's a really nice lens to have, especially if you want to sort of focus more on video, as that's what it's sort of designed to be used for. And if you want to shoot short films with your phone, then I'd definitely recommend a lens like this because it really makes anything look cinematic. This last lens I've got to show you is a 60mm telephoto lens, which Moment have actually since discontinued and replaced with a newer 58mm version, which I personally myself haven't got yet. But for anyone who still has one of these lenses lying around and you're maybe wondering if it's worth getting a new case to use it with your 12 Pro Max, the short answer is no. This lens suffers quite badly from vignetting and blurring at the edges, which started becoming apparent on iPhones about 2 years ago, which is probably why it was discontinued and replaced by Moment. And I think this is important to mention because any company that is making lenses or accessories for a phone is going to be bound design-wise by the current hardware that's available to them at the time. So as newer phones become available with updated camera systems and larger sensors, this could break compatibility with some of the lenses that you might have bought previously. So it's just something important to remember if you're thinking of investing and getting some lenses, that in the future, the lenses might not work as intended with future phones. So to sum up, if you're looking to get some lenses for your phone, then I would definitely recommend getting a macro and anamorphic lens because they just both offer you something new and unique that you can't currently do on the iPhone. I hadn't used my macro lens for a while before making this video, and I'd kind of forgotten how fun it was to shoot with and how you can really get some unique shots that just wouldn't be possible with the native cameras. And as for the anamorphic, it's a great way to add some style to your videos and just making them look that bit more cinematic. And I'm actually looking to get one of the gold flare anamorphics too at some point, so I can get some of those nice neutral tone flares as well. If you'd like to check out any of the things that I've shown to you today, I'll leave some links to them in the description below. I hope that this video has been useful to you. If you've got any questions or you want me to go over anything, then drop a comment in the comment section below, I'll be happy to answer. And if you already have some moment lenses, let me know what your favourite to use is, because I'd love to know that too. Thanks so much for watching, subscribe for more, and I will see you in the next one.